The CorpseMancer is maybe the build that put me on the map for Diablo 3 as a content creator, and with some changes in 2.6.9 to the Jesse's Skull Scythe and the Corpse Explosion changes, this build is back and better than ever. And season 21, you start with an Arius, so this is going to be the first setup you're probably going to want to gear towards as fast as you possibly can. So let's get into the new and improved CorpseMancer. As always, quick caveat before we get started. We pulled ourselves down to 1000 Paragon. The gear is augmented. I don't have the time to refarm the gear. So before you make your comments about Paragon, chill out. You're probably going to make them anyways, but just letting you know. So for you guys that don't know and haven't played CorpseMancer in the past, this is an Arius setup based around Corpse Explosion and Land of the Dead. This is a high CDR build focused around having the maximum possible uptime around Land of the Dead you can possibly get, with the Golem to kind of bridge that gap when Land of the Dead is down. With optimal gear, you will have pretty much 100% uptime on Land of the Dead, so much so that if you're feeling very confident, you can even drop Command Golem and run Aura of Frailty to get that a little bit more damage juice. But the Golem is just all around a great support for this setup. So how does this all work? So we're using an Arius. 6-piece gives us a flat 10,000% damage multiplier. And as you guys know, in 2.6.9, the base damage of a Corpse Explosion was massively increased on top of Grasp of Essence, going from 500% damage at max stance to 1,000% damage at max stance. So Corpse Explosion got a big time buff. Jessuth was also changed, as you guys know, to be a flat 400% damage modifier instead of just giving the damage to minions. So that is another buff. Before we run a Tragul's Corroded Fang, and that would give us a flat 200% damage mod, but now we get 400% from Jessuth. We're going to be wearing the Captain Crimson set in this setup as well. So the more cooldown we get, and again, we are attacking cooldown here, it is our main stat, the more damage we get for the build. We're of course going to be running Crimson Sentence, which gives us a flat 300% increased damage because everything's going to be frozen at all times. And on top of that, we're using the Johnstone, which basically gives us more damage for Land of the Dead every single time Land of the Dead expires. And as you guys know, this is an elite hunting build, meaning we're hunting for elites. We're find an elite, we pop Land of the Dead, we kill the elite as fast as we can, and then we're off to find the next elite pack. So that 200% damage to Corpse Explosion stays with us because we're really not wasting any explosions on trash along the way. Now, this is one of those builds that uses in-game, so you're gonna be zipping around at the speed of light as soon as you kill an elite pack. So you're gonna be able to fly as fast as you possibly can to find that in the next elite pack, right? Because that's what this whole sub's about. Just killing elites, and then poof, you're off to find the next one and do tons of Corpse Explosion damage. Now again, we're stacking insane amounts of cooldown reduction here, so you're gonna want a cooldown reduction everywhere you can. We're also using an in-game, like we just said. It takes 10 seconds off of your cooldowns when you kill an elite pack. And of course, we combine that with Nemesis Bracers to spawn elite packs off pylons. So the synergy between those two items is really, really insane. We're using Captain Crimson's, which gives us more cooldown reduction as part of the set bonus, 20%. So all said and done here, my character currently has 65.58% cooldown reduction. So you put that on top of in-game procs, you have pretty much 100% uptime on Land of the Dead. And again, the Golem is in this build to aid you in those times that maybe Land of the Dead is down. So the skills. This build revolves around Corpse Explosion with Close Quarters. Close Quarters is the highest damage mod you can get on Corpse Explosion, doing a 75% damage multiplier, and as poison, so we're stacking poison damage in this build as well. We're using Land of the Dead Frozen Lands. So one, it keeps us alive, obviously, because everything is going to be frozen. You'll find that although Arius should feel like it should be the most tanky set, it's not. The new set is actually probably the tankiest set of all the Necromancer sets. So even though they buffed the Arius 4-piece in this particular patch to be 3% instead of 2%, it's really not much. I cheer 100. There's still a probability to get one shot. We're using Blood Rush of Molting. Blood Rush is super important in this setup because, again, once we get that in-game proc, we're going to be able to spam Blood Rush non-stop with 0 cooldown. And every single time we Blood Rush, it's going to generate a corpse. And this is just that, any build that uses corpses, Molting just has good synergy with the setup to, maybe feel that need for a corpse in a split second when, like, a mob's one corpse away from dying. It's got a lot of uses, but more importantly, Blood Rush is for our permanent mobility. We're using Bone Armor with Dislocation, no brainer. This is so that when we're outside of the Land of the Dead, we can proc that triple bonus on Crimson Sentence in the case that we maybe use our flesh golem to pop corpses. And so you want to make sure you stun and get that triple damage bonus. It also keeps us alive. You know, as you're going from pack to pack, you're basically going to be spamming bone armor, not only to keep up your stacks of Goguk, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it just makes you more survivable as you're moving from elite to elite. The flesh golem, like we talked about, is here for support. It's a really good skill in this particular setup because we can plop it down. It'll generate corpses. Then we make sure we stun with bone armor, and then we can blow those corpses up to either finish off elite packs or whatnot. Again, we're using Johnstone, so the damage you'll have with just those 5 corpses is pretty high. It is enough to finish off packs, and the cooldown is so good already because, again, we're running Ingyam and really high cooldown reduction. So the amount of times you're gonna be able to spam this ability is pretty high. Now, the weirdest part about this whole setup, and we talked about this a bit in the, the last guide we posted, the SpeedFarm, is command skeletons. So we are running command skeletons now because we are running the Justice set. So basically at all times you want to have these skeletons commanded so you get that 400% increased damage modifier. Now the reason this is so good in this setup, and the reason this Justice change is just so good across the Necro, is because command skeletons, when spammed on a target, will trigger Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, which will reduce the cooldown of your remaining cooldowns by 1 second. So every single time you're spamming that command skeletons, and again in this setup we are going to numlock command skeletons, but you can manually spam that if you'd like. So every single time that button's being hit and there's a target for the command skeletons to hit, you're mousing, you want to keep your mouse hovered over targets to proc that command skeleton. So every single time they are commanded, it's going to trigger 1 second off of your Land of the Dead cooldown, and that's big. But you'll notice I don't have anything that generates essence on my bar. So this is where the build kind of gets a little big brain. So we're going to be running command skeletons with Enforcer. Now Enforcer reduces the cost to spam the skill, so it takes it down to a 25% or 25 essence cost. And then on top of that, we're going to be running Commander of the Risen Dead. The essence cost of command skeletons and the cooldown of command golem, again a good synergy there, is reduced by 30%. So that takes the the essence cost down to like something like 16 or so, which is good because you need to be able to spam it. And the way that we can spam it is by using Dark Reaping. This is the only thing that we're going to have. We're not using Devour, as you guys can see. So just with Dark Reaping alone is how we're going to keep up the essence cost to spam our command skeletons. So just based on the amount of kills we get, that's exactly how we keep our essence pool up. And we reduce the cost of command skeletons so they can be spammed and give us good triggers of Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac for Land of the Dead cooldown. Now, some of the other passives, obviously Final Service. You are not the tankiest build in the world, again, so you're going to need this to maintain survivability. Just basically helps you cheat death once per minute. And of course, Blood is Power. No cooldown build would be complete without Blood is Power. After losing 100% of your life pool, you basically just get 20% cooldown reduction. So again, that 20% cooldown reduction from Blood is Power, which you're pretty much going to have every single time, plus 65% base cooldown reduction, plus Ingyam triggering, plus Goguk of Swiftness, which is not even factored into the 65%, which is another 15% cooldown reduction. Cooldown, 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 cooldown. And then really the last piece of gear we haven't really talked about yet is we're using Ring of the World Grandeur in the cube or on our person, depending on what we have statted. But this basically allows us to wear 5 pieces of Inarius and 2 pieces of Captains and give us the full 6-piece and 3-piece of both. As far as stat variety is concerned, I don't know how many times I can say it, but cooldown reduction is all you need and all you want. So for the gloves, we're wearing Inarius. Attack speed does increase the animation at which you can Corpse Explode, so getting a quad effector pair of gloves would probably be best. Attack speed, crit damage, crit chance, and cooldown reduction. Shoulders, we want Corpse Explosion damage. You can roll Corpse Explosion damage on shoulders. And then Invite cooldown reduction. For helmet, Invite crit chance with a socket for a diamond, because diamonds give cooldown reduction. Chest, you can roll Corpse Explosion damage here, so that's priority 1, but then Invite and sockets. Belt, we're using Captains, Invite life and armor percentage. Pants, also Captains, Invite armor and 2 sockets. Pestilence boots, invite armor and movement speed, so you can use those stats towards intelligence on Paragon would be the best. On a Justice Skull Scythe, again, the dream roll is going to be the best in slot. Damage, attack speed, cooldown reduction, socket. For offhands, we can't roll skill damage on a Skull Shield. That's the only thing weird about Skull Shield. But invite, crit chance, cooldown reduction, and increased damage to elites or life percent if you can't get that. Bracers, this is a poison build like we said, so poison, invite, crit chance is the best. Ideally we want to be wearing a Crimson Sentence here, but again, Crimson Sentence is really hard to roll perfectly, but the perfect rolls will be attack speed, cooldown reduction, crit damage, and a socket. And of course, Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac is going to really only roll one way. We're going to roll off that resource cost reduction to get a socket and keep attack speed, crit chance, cooldown reduction. On a Johnstone, because you can't get crit on your shield, I would say the best stat priority would be critical hit damage, poison, and then cooldown reduction, socket. But this one rolled pretty good. For legendary gems, we're using Bane of the Powerful. We're an elite hunting build, so Bane of the Powerful has very good synergy with the build. We're using Bane of the Trapped, no brainer. Just gives us flat % damage, especially since we're a close range build. And then finally, we're using Goguk. Again, more attack speed means we can do more animations of Corpse Explosion, but more importantly, we get 15% cooldown reduction from Goguk. So again, you want to make sure you don't let that Goguk of Swiftness buff drop. Make sure you're using bone armor between packs. The command skeletons will be going off all the time by themselves, and that will also trigger Goguk. But just make sure you're spamming that bone armor between elite packs. Don't let Goguk drop. Overall, playstyle-wise, not much has changed. We are using command skeletons now, but it's still that, spam Land of the Dead, on elites, hunt the next elite pack, fly through the map as fast as you possibly can. This has been a really popular build since all the way back in season 11. But because we start with Anarius this season, I felt this build guide could use an updating. Plus, there are enough changes to warrant making a new video. But the CorpseMancer classic build in Diablo 3, one of my favorites of all time. There's something insanely gratifying about using Corpse Explosion to just blow up the entire screen. But that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. Of course, if you have any questions, ask them in the comment section below, or do stop by my twitch.tv stream. And guys, we are not a full-time streamer, so if you like the builds, you want to see them keep coming, you want to support the stream, you can support us via Patreon, or of course, subscribe to our twitch.tv stream. And again, guys, liking the video, if you guys like the content, like the video, that helps a lot. Subscribe to the channel. We keep hovering over that 50k subscriber mark. We'd love to shoot over 100k one day. But that's pretty much going to do it for the video, guys. As always, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions. We love you guys. Peace out.